Hey everybody, welcome back to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake and I'm so glad that you're able to join me. Now today we're going to be talking about something that I know a lot of us secretly wrestle with, and it's that feeling of being just completely unmotivated and drained from overwhelm or burnout or frustration or just going through the motions of being a parent, an entrepreneur, or someone grinding away in their 9 to 5. Like, you maybe even have called yourself lazy as a part of that. You're trying to tap into some sort of motivation, but you just can't find it. You know, let me ask you this, when was the last time you looked at yourself and you thought to yourself, man, I need to push harder, or I need more discipline, or I should be able to handle something like this. And maybe you even did call yourself lazy when you just couldn't get excited for the things that maybe used to light you up. But what if I told you that, with all that, it's not that you're lazy at all. There's that heavy feeling that you're dragging around inside you. It's not a sign of any sort of weakness or anything. It's just your body's way of protecting you from emotional overload. Now, here's what most people don't even realize. You're probably carrying around an invisible backpack full of, unprocessed stress, old disappointments, hidden worries, grief and pain and emotional weight of trying to keep it all together for everyone else. And that backpack is so heavy. It's heavy enough that to break down and shut down even the strongest nervous systems that are out there. Your motivation isn't missing. Your spark isn't gone. It's just buried under the layers and layers of emotional weight that you were never taught how to actually unpack. And so I want to work through that with you today so that you can lighten that load and find your motivation again. And like I said, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book called The Giver Method. It came out in November. Since coming out, it has helped thousands of individuals. It's become an Amazon bestseller, has tons of 5-star reviews. And what people love about it, they love two things. Number one, it is grounded in my own story. A lot of things that I talk about are directly from what I experienced as I've gone through that, because I'm just like you. I'm a parent. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in that corporate 9 to 5 job, just grinding away. And so everything I talk about in the principles, they're designed specifically for people like you who have a lot on their plate. And then, of course, the other thing that they love, number two, is that every chapter, every section, it has action items, it has worksheets, exercises, things that you can put into motion right away. So what we cover today is going to be just a small fraction of what's covered in the book. So I highly recommend that you take a few seconds, pause the video, go to Amazon, get The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Use the link in the description if you need to. But it's the best $10 that you can invest in yourself, and I would love to get into people's hands before they raise any sort of prices on it. Because I want you to have access to it. I get nothing from it other than knowing that you've taken that first step into becoming who it is that you're meant to be. Tons of amazing things, how you discover your gifts and superpowers, create more influence and impact, more value for others, better relationships, more fulfillment in life, all this type of stuff. So go get yourself a copy on Amazon. Like I said, you won't regret it. It's going to be amazing. One of those things that I talk about, though, is that it is so grounded in my own story. And I know personally, there was a season of my life when on the outside everything looked great. If you looked at things if let's say you're running a business and your business is growing or whatever, or family, my family was completely healthy, and yet inside I felt like I was just walking through mud every single day. Every decision felt like I was climbing a mountain. I started just telling myself it's just because you're being lazy. And of course, I tried a bunch of the classic fixes. I tried new planners or stricter routines. I did motivational playlists to try and get myself in the mood. Whatever it was, you name it, I tried it. Nothing worked because I was only addressing the surface, not the root of what the actual problem was. And the moment I realized I wasn't being lazy, I was just emotionally exhausted. That changed things for me. I started seeing okay, lack of motivation not as a flaw to fix, but as a signal. A system, a sign that my system is on overload and screaming hey, you need some real care and attention. And your system's screaming that because it wants to break free and use your gifts and superpowers to help others. Now, there's tons of data and research that I put into the book, and I'd love to also pack that into these videos. The science backs it up. Research shows that 76% of working adults are emotionally exhausted. People who practice some sort of regular emotional processing, they report 45% higher energy levels throughout their day and 60% stronger motivation. It's not about more discipline, it's about better emotional recovery. So today I want to walk you through these 7 strategies that I know have worked for busy parents and entrepreneurs and employees that are trying to basically helping you to trade emotional overload for real and sustainable motivation. And I promise you, everything we talk about, it's straight from the Giver Method. It's been applied to individuals like yourself. your like that sensitivity, that deep care, your emotional awareness, like those aren't weaknesses, they're superpowers just waiting to be like brought out. So once again, you can get yourself a copy of the book down in the description. I'll have the link to it on Amazon. You can go to thegivermethod.com, check out other ways that we help people, other free resources. Please go follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places. And I love it when people pop in and say hi in those places as well. And of course, if you are like hearing this topic, or you've seen any of our videos and you're like, man, I would really love to have someone in my corner. I'd love to push through that, go faster. I need someone to help coach me and guide me along the way. Well, I did just open up a couple of coaching spots. And so if you're watching this video and there's a link down in the description to the coaching page, you can go and get access to, like, go look at it, read at it, watch all the details about it. And if it makes sense, book a call so that we can talk about what that could look like for you, because sometimes that's what people need. Also, if you lead a team or run a podcast or have a group that this sort of a message would hit well with them, or a message like this one, like, let's talk about bringing this work to them in a really like practical human way. So there's a link down below for speaking and podcasting. Of course, if this video resonates with you, like, drop a comment, tell me what landed. I love to read those and respond to them. And of course, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the other content that I release every single week. So let's unpack this. Let's get into like that invisible, like, emotional backpack together, the thing that you've been carrying around with you, and uncover your energy and motivation that's been waiting all along, so that you can really start to break free and step into who it is that you're meant to be. So our first strategy, all right, like, there's the emotional load recognition like system you need, learning to see what you've been carrying, like what is in like that emotional backpack, okay? Because if we're real for a second, most of us are hauling around that emotional backpack and it is heavy as heck. And we don't even know, like, it's completely there. We wake up tired, we drag ourselves through the day, and we wonder, like, why can't I get motivated? I see other people so motivated. Why can't I? The truth is, like, it's not because of laziness at all. It's because, like, you're carrying more emotional weight in your system, like more than your system was ever built to handle. And so, like, for parents, maybe that's like constant worry about your kids and juggling everyone's schedule and trying to be everything for everyone, all, trying to put on your own, like, putting your own feelings last, trying to put on a good face as a part of that. For an entrepreneur, it might be like the pressure of keeping your business alive or leading a team. You pretend like you're always fine, like you need to be that leader for people. Or maybe as an employee, like, it's that gnawing feeling like you're being overlooked, the politics, the quiet frustration that builds day after day. Like I said, if any of these sound familiar, it's because I've been there and I understand it. The first step is to getting into getting that energy and motivation back. Like, you need to start by, like, spot the hidden weight. Okay, like, you can't let go of what you don't see and what you can't name. Most folks are so used to going to their emotional load is just there, that it just starts to feel like how life is. But that constant heaviness isn't normal, and it's definitely not your fault. So let's unpack, like, let's talk about how you can go about doing that. So the first thing is, like, there's a daily emotional, like, weather check that you can do. Or, like, throughout the day, let's say 3 times a day, morning, midday, evening, or whatever, pause and ask yourself, like, what am I carrying right now? And once again, we're not trying to fix, we're not trying to judge, just noticing. Like, what you might realize is that you're holding onto that, like, tough conversation from last week, or the quiet anxiety about tomorrow's meeting, whatever it is, like, write it down, like, whatever it was. And then, once a week, do this, like, weekly emotional inventory, where you take, like, maybe 20 minutes and you jot down the big emotions from that week that, and what sparked them, and look for patterns. Like, if I look at, well, what are the things that are weighing me down? How could I maybe address those? Like I said, not in the moment, but as you do some reflection, as you take that time to look at the big emotions, what triggered them, like, what patterns are there? And then, of course, you can always do an energy audit, where, like, for, activities and interactions you rate how they impact your energy. Like, a -3 would be that it's completely a draining thing for you. A +3 could be that it's super energizing. You do it for a week and you look for the patterns that show you what that looks like, and it matters, like, doing this sort of a thing, because, like, you need to spot these like emotions that we're carrying, these things that we've got in this backpack. Like, when you see it, it changes everything. Like, when you know what's there, you can start deciding what to keep, what to process, and what to finally maybe set down. You stop blaming yourself for not being motivated enough, and you just start realizing, like, oh, I'm carrying too much, and I'm a human, like, weird, and like, I can start to move past these things and take them out of my backpack, so I can put back in motivation, my spark, and bring life back into what I want to do. And so that leads us to the second strategy. There's this, like, permission to feel practice, okay? Like, you give yourself space to experience emotions without any sort of a judgment. Like you actually need to feel things to heal. Because like, I mean, if we get real for just a minute as a part of this, like one of the biggest reasons you feel stuck and drained, like you're just carrying like this belief that you shouldn't feel certain emotions. I was there. I almost turned off emotions. Like I can't feel these sort of things. I can't think about these things. Emotions are weak, right? If you sad, you can be sad, frustrated, scared, angry. You know, once again, are you feeling that those are selfish, or are they weak, or are they some other like belief that you have inside of yourself? Maybe you think that you have to keep it all together for your family or your team to look like professional and kept together. The truth is, like when you like shove those feelings down, you don't magically disappear. They just pile up inside of you like old boxes in the attic until one day you're exhausted and you don't even know why. And so you're giving yourself permission to feel like isn't about falling apart or turning into like some emotional wreck. It's about realizing your emotions are just messages. You know, they're your body and your mind are just trying to tell you what's going on inside of you. And when you let yourself actually feel without trying to fix or judge it, like those emotions can move you through things instead of getting trapped in it and weighing it and having it weigh you down. Like super important, and what's tough, I guess, is like you're supposed to be the strong one, right? As a parent or a leader, you know, or when you're working, you know, in a job, like you're supposed to have it all together, right? But as you hold it all in, like this is exactly what's going to burn you out and kill just the natural drive that you have. So what you want to do to start is like, so the first thing is like, you actually do this idea of an emotional permission slip where you literally write out a permission slip for yourself in words, type it out with a pen, whatever. Like, I give myself permission to be frustrated today. I give myself permission to feel scared about this big decision. Like, it sounds simple, but putting it into words interrupts your old habits. It shuts down the feeling. You know, then there's like a 10-minute like feeling window. Like, give yourself a timer. So sometimes it's that we don't want to sit in them, or if we do let them out, we know we might sit in them too long. And so you set a timer for 10 minutes and just let yourself feel whatever shows up. Once again, no fixing, no positive pep talks, no numbing out, doom scrolling or anything. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to feel angry, let it out. Like, let it be, like, be angry in that moment. You know, do it in a controlled space, like not in front of, like, you know, your kids. You know, you don't want to blow up at your kids all of a sudden, or in front of your boss or a client. But it teaches your body that, like, hey, it's safe to feel, you know, and you don't have to have it all together. And at the end of the day, you could try like an emotional, like some sort of emotional processing ritual where you take 5-10 minutes and ask yourself, like, what did I feel today that I didn't really maybe process all the way? Maybe journal it out, maybe talk it out loud with yourself or with someone, or just maybe sit with it and think on it, like ponder for a little bit. Like, this helps you clear the emotional buildup that you carry from today so that it doesn't become tomorrow's stress. You know, this is huge, because like when you stop fighting feelings, you letting them move you forward, like you free up so much energy that you use day to day just suppressing these sort of things. You become more self-aware. Your emotional intelligence is going to skyrocket, and most importantly, like your natural motivation is going to start to come back. You create the space for that sort of fuel. And so the third strategy is this, like there's emotional release. So like, once we can identify what they are, like now we got to start to try to release them. How do we, it's a tension discharge that comes with it. And you know, what are the daily and you know, or how often you want to release those sort of things. Like, clear that weight so you feel lighter and can move freer. I mean, we all carry tension we don't even realize. Like, we're wired, but like that, we're wired in this way. Like, you know, we're exhausted, you know, from feeling like, when you feel exhausted at the end of the day, like, we're just wired that we've been processing all these things throughout the day, and we feel tired. We feel physically and emotionally, like our shoulders get tight. You know, maybe you've got shallow breathing, you know, the sense of like something's off, but you can't explain it. I've been there a ton. Like, your body's like hanging on to emotional energy that you haven't had a chance to release. Now, here's the thing, like, emotions aren't problems to be solved. It's just energy that needs to be moved through. You know, when you get stuck, like, they don't just mess with your mood, they mess with your sleep, your focus, your patience, like patience with your kids, with your team, your motivation to do things, you know, all sorts of things like that. Like, most of us try to think our way out of this, but you can't just logic your way out of tension. Like, that, your body's living through it. You can't just think that logic through it. And I've tried, so I know there's some breaking points with that. So instead of pushing through or pretending you're fine, like, just what if you give yourself the simple daily ritual to help you reset your system? You know, like, it's like, think about it, like if this tension was plaque on your teeth, like, you'd brush it off, right? So like, let's think about it, like, what's that emotional hygiene we would have? So what you would start with, one of the first things you could do is this thing like there's an evening emotional like reset where before bed you take 5 to 10 minutes and you clear the emotional dust. We talked about this in the second principle. You know, shake out your hands, stretch out your body, take some deep breaths, slow your breaths, and exhale. Like imagine releasing the stress that you picked up. Like you journaled about it, you thought about it, you chewed on it, maybe you talked through it with somebody. Like now do some physical things to help with that. And then what you do is like you're essentially like signaling your nervous system like, okay, we can rest now. I love before I go to bed, there's always that like I hit the pillow and I always do like one final like a breath release of like I'm just letting, and to me I think you are releasing your day, like everything from the day that you had, you're releasing right now so you can sleep well. And it's changed things for me like crazy. And then next, like there's this like emotional voice journaling exercise that you can do. Like so instead of writing, like just take it, like just talk to it, like talk it out loud. Give yourself like, you know, a voice memo or something, like whatever it is, like just talk it out, like, you know, record it and be like, you know, hey, I'm frustrated that I didn't speak up in that meeting. I'm worried about my kids' moods lately. Like, and just naming it out loud helps loosen the grips that you have on it. Be surprised how much lighter you feel after you just give it voice. You know, so it's one thing to think about it, chew on it. It's another thing when you write it out, like you're getting those ideas out on paper, it helps relieve it. But when you vocalize it, it's even that much more, you know? You can also do like a you know, completion breath, you know, that idea like I was talking about, like, you know, pick the emotion, maybe it's anxiety or anger or sadness, you know, and then imagine breathing it up like from wherever you feel in your body. You hold it for a second and then just exhale it out. Like I said, I do that before bed and it makes amazing, like has amazing results for me. Each breath is like a mini release valve, letting out pressure like you didn't even realize you were holding on to. This is also a place where maybe like a breathwork app could become really good for you to help just process through some of that stuff from the day. You know, like what's important is like when you make releasing tension part of your daily rhythm, you don't let it pile up and you don't let it turn into burnout. Like that's when emotional resilience comes back. Like that tomorrow's stress doesn't feel like you're sitting on top of something, you know, everything from yesterday. You know, and you open up the space inside yourself for real energy and motivation and that genuine joy and fulfillment to come back into your life. The goal isn't to be emotionally free, because that, like I said, it's not good, but it's just to feel free, you know, and process and move forward without dragging yesterday's weight behind you. Like that's where you start to find your spark again. Now our fourth one is this, like we got to create this energy restoration map. Like there's sometimes identifying and scheduling what actually refuels you. Like, and like it, you have to schedule it like it matters. Like this is so important. Most of us think that like rest means like crashing on the couch with a show or scrolling, you know, on the phone. I'm just gonna watch some TikToks. I'm gonna watch some reels or whatever the thing may be. But that's not true restoration. That's just zoning out. And if you ever have woken up like from like a Netflix binge, like you maybe weren't actually asleep, like you woke up mentally, and you're feeling more exhausted than when you started, like then you know exactly what I'm talking about. True restoration is about like choosing activities, you know, people and experiences that actually put energy back in your tank, not just to distract you in the moment. We're not trying to numb ourselves, we're trying to move past it. So here's the catch, like what works for your friend or partner or coworker might not work for you at all. Some folks just need solo quiet time. Some people need to do a hike with friends or a dance class or an art project or whatever, like something that lights you up. Like, you know, I love like the two things that I do that all the time that I find completely therapeutic in helping me to relax is number one, yard work. I love it. I love mowing the lawn, cutting trees, bushes, cleaning the pool, all sorts of stuff like that. Yard work, therapeutic. Lego building. I've got all sorts of Lego building is one of the most therapeutic things out there. Okay. Like, so whatever lights you up, whatever boosts you, those deep conversations or creating something new, like whatever it is, like this gets especially important when like you're running on emotional fumes. You know, your usual comfort activities might not be cutting it anymore. And so you've got to be really intentional to like actively choose like, well, what is filling me up rather than numbing you? And it might be that you have to put some old things on, you know, the back burner and try out some new ones to help build that energy up for you. So here's how you can figure this out. The first thing is like there's an energy inventory where you're going to look back over your last, maybe let's say month, and you're going to list out everything like work tasks, social interactions, you know, downtime for activities. Maybe you need to use your calendar, maybe go look through your photos on your phone. Like it'll help you tell those things. And for each one, ask like, did this leave me feeling lighter or heavier, energized or drained? And you're going to start to see some patterns break through. And that becomes the foundation of like your personal restoration map. Next, try like some sort of restoration experiment where like it's like, hey, every week I'm going to pick one new or maybe long forgotten activity that sounds intriguing. Maybe it's a pottery class or playing the guitar or that long walk with your headphones in, like whatever. Like during and after, notice like, did this give me life or did it drain it from me? We're looking for the activities that make you feel genuinely alive and engaged again. And then set a like weekly restoration appointment where literally you put it on your calendar and treat it like a meeting you cannot cancel. 1 hour where you do something that truly fills you up. And it's not about indulgence in any way. It's just essential maintenance. Like I'm not going to skip charging my phone and expect it to work. Well, the same goes for like your brain, your body, your emotions. So this is, like I said, it's going to be something that's so important, because when you know what actually restores your energy and stop confusing the numbing out as true rest, like you can show up with more joy and presence and motivation. You're going to be genuinely refueled. And the best part is like you reconnect with what feels like you, which is that's exactly where real power and purpose lives. So much more fulfillment in life. Now, the fifth one is like there's a boundary setting specifically around things for your emotional health. Like, how do we stop leaking energy all day long? There's all sorts of energy drains in our lives. Like, you could be crushing it with your schedule and feel completely wiped out at the end of the day. Why? Because the emotional energy has been leaked all over the place without even noticing it. You're not just saying no to another work project. It's the little invisible ways we drain ourselves, worrying about what everybody thinks, carrying other people's problems, doom scrolling late at night, replaying maybe an awkward conversation from last week on repeat. Like, emotional boundaries are trickier than the physical ones, because like they're invisible and you have to do some reflection to figure these out. Like, you might be great at blocking things off on your calendar. I'm great at that. But you still get like mentally hijacked by drama or guilt or that friend that needs just 5 minutes that turns into an hour, right? So the goal isn't to build a wall around yourself and shut everything out. It's just to get smart about like where your precious emotional energy is, where it's going, how to build it up so that you can show up like fully and present to the people and the things that matter the most to you. Because if you're operating from a full tank, gosh, you can be a better parent, a stronger leader, a more creative human, honestly, just more fun to be around. So this is what I want you to do. The first thing, like, you're going to run these emotional energy audits. Like I said, it's about looking at what's drained you and what leaves you, like what makes you heavy and what leaves you feeling more excited. Like, but really think about these negative ones, these ones that are pulling things out of you. Maybe certain meetings, certain apps, certain people. And once you see it on paper, pick like the top 3 biggest drains and decide one small way that you can limit each one. Maybe it's muting that chat group. Maybe it's saying no to a specific meeting obligation that always leaves you feeling drained. And then you can also try like emotional boundary phrases, so that you don't freeze in the moment. Like, you're trying to create boundaries, so like you need to honestly like write out and practice so that you're ready to say it in the moment. Like, hey, I really care about you. I just don't have the energy to dive into this right this moment, but I'd love to follow up. Or hey, I need to step away to process some things before we continue. Like, practice this ahead of time. Like, it helps you hold the line without any sort of guilt. And then finally, like, there's a daily emotional like energy budget, right? Every morning asking yourself, like, how much emotional energy do I really have today? And where do I want to spend it? And maybe today I have the space for tough conversation. Maybe I don't. I'm going to plan my day like, it's finances, right? You don't just swipe your credit card mindlessly. Well, I mean, I guess most of the time we don't. But like, you don't spend your emotional energy without intention either. Because when you stop, like when you stop these tiny leaks of energy, you don't just survive the day, you actually thrive and stay engaged and become more creative and connected without any sort of resentment or burnout that comes from that type of stuff. And like the bonus, like, you're modeling this healthy self-respect like to the people around you, inspiring them to do the same sort of thing. And then our 6th one is this like compassionate self-dialogue practice, that inner critic. How do we transform it into the supportive guidance? How do we stop beating ourselves up to get our energy back? Because like, we can be downright brutal to ourselves. That voice that pops in when we're feeling unmotivated, like the one that's like, oh, you're lazy, or what's wrong with you? Other people have it together. Why can't you? Like, that voice, it's not helping you. In fact, it's one of the biggest energy drains that there is. And think most people don't realize is like that harsh voice isn't really you. It's just some old conditioning or programming that's stuck in there. Like, maybe from your childhood, maybe it's from a boss, maybe cultural messages have you like, you got to hustle harder or never stop or whatever the thing may be. But like, when you talk to yourself like that, you're having a bully that's following you around all day. Like, no wonder you're feeling exhausted or stuck as a part of that. So instead of jumping into like self-attack, like what if we get curious? What if we spoke to ourselves in a way that we'd speak to like our best friend who's struggling, and we show love and compassion? Imagine if a friend came to you and they're like, hey, I'm feeling unmotivated. I can't get things done. I'm so lazy. I can't do this. Like, would you be like, wow, yeah, you're a lazy failure? Like, of course not. That's not how we talk to friends. They go, hey, you've been carrying a lot. It makes sense. What do you need right now? What actions could we take, even if they're small? And so you just need to flip the script a bit. So let's talk about how you do that. First, like there's the inner critic check-in, okay? The next time you catch that voice, that harsh voice, pause and like actually write down what it's saying. You'd be shocked at how intense it is, like when you write it out and then read it back to yourself again. Like, and awareness is that first step. Then there's like the friend filter, where literally you ask yourself, like if my friend said this to me, like what would I say back? Or if I said this to a friend, what would I expect them to say to me? And you say it out loud if you can. Like it feels awkward at first, but like it's a big game changer. And then of course you practice this like, compassionate curiosity. Like we're gonna swap like what's wrong with me to like, okay, well, what do I need right now? Like weird, that's a tiny shift. Like what could help me in this situation? Like it changes everything. Instead of spiraling in shame, it's problem solving and coming from a place of care. That inner kindness creates safety inside of you. You're not constantly under attack from your own mind. Your nervous system learns to chill out because it's not being attacked. And so you stop burning energy defending yourself, and the energy is freed up for, once again, creativity and connection and things you can actually get stuff done. Feel more motivated in those moments. And of course, the seventh one, which is kind of like combining all these principles together, which is like the motivational renewal system. Reconnect those authentic sources of energy and purpose. How do you find energy you've lost? When we're feeling like, when you feel everything you once loved starts to feel like it's just another checkbox, you start wondering like, where'd the passion go? Or did I change, or did I lose it? And the truth is like, you never lose your spark. It just gets buried under the stress and the expectations and all this emotional heaviness. Most people try to like willpower their way back to motivation with more planners, more systems, more frameworks, more self-criticism. But real motivation, it doesn't come from forcing, from clearing away what's blocking and what reconnecting you with what really lights you up, and you being authentic and showing up authentically with your gifts and superpowers. The real motivation isn't about like what you think you should want. It's about what actually makes you feel alive. And when you start tapping into that, motivation feels like something it doesn't feel like something you have to actually create. It feels like something that you're just waiting to burst out of you. And so let's talk about how you can find it again. A couple of ways. Like, start with this, like there's like a motivation archaeology. Like we're going to go dig around our past. What did you love as a kid? Before everything got heavy. What activities do you forget, that there's even a clock or time happening? Like what topics can you lean into without even trying? Like those clues are going to be gold for this type of thing. And then you do like maybe even a values alignment check where you write down your top 5 values. Not the ones you think you're supposed to have, but the ones that actually matter to you, and ask yourself like, do my goals and daily actions actually line up with these? And if not, like, weird, no wonder you feel stuck. And then finally, try like spark experiments where you go and give yourself permission to explore things without pressure. Read about something that, piques your curiosity. Jump into a new hobby for a few minutes. Like chat with someone who gets your wheels turning, right? No big commitments, just a little test flight to see what makes you feel alive again. Because when you're following like what truly lights you up, you don't have to push yourself to show up. You just show up. It's who you are. You naturally get energy instead of draining. You move into this space where your natural gifts and talents can shine in ways that you can't even plan for. And that's where you can make a true impact in other people's lives. And so as we bring this together, as we kind of wrap this all up, I want you to hear this really, really loud and clear. Like you're not lazy, and you never have been. What people call, or what you've referred to as laziness, is actually your nervous system just waving that big flag, protecting you from the emotional overload that you've been carrying, that low energy. Like, I just can't push through that feeling today. Like, once again, it's not a flaw, it's a signal. And the strategies we talked about today aren't just about feeling better, like so that you can go check more boxes, right? They're about helping you peel back those layers of emotional weight so you can find the real you underneath. The one that's curious and creative and engaged and ready to make an impact that only you can. Your deep sensitivity isn't something to fix or hide. It's a superpower. It's what allows you to care deeply and connect fully and bring so much of your heart to the people or the projects that matter to you. When you learn how to work with that sensitivity instead of battling it, everything starts to change. What I've learned, not just from my own journey, but from walking alongside so many parents and entrepreneurs and growth-minded folks like yourself, like true sustainable motivation never comes from forcing yourself to, to grind harder, or push harder, or layering on these more systems, or processes. It comes with, healing just what's underneath. From processing the emotions you've been carrying around for years, from reconnecting with parts of you that light up without effort. The drive, the drive that maybe you've been looking for. It's not hiding. Like, it's not hiding in some, planner, or hustle hack. It's right there inside of you, waiting for you to create the space to breathe and listen to it. And so instead of calling yourself lazy or beating yourself up, for feeling off, like, start tuning in, start asking, like, what do I actually need right now? What is this feeling trying to tell me? How can I support myself instead of shaming myself as a part of that? That emotional exhaustion isn't permanent. It's not a new normal. It's just a sign that it's time to take a different approach, one rooted in compassion, not criticism. The spark you're trying to find it's still there. You just need to clear all this emotional clutter, pull the things out of the backpack that you've been burying down in there. Now, if you do want to dive deeper into this type of work and you learn more about it, then that's where you'll want to grab yourself a copy of The Giver Method on Amazon. The link is down in the description, or you can go directly to Amazon and look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. It's packed with the tools to help you go from overwhelmed to clarity and rediscover your gifts as a part of the process. Once again, if you think that having someone in your corner, to help you step into this is what you need, then I've got a few one-on-one coaching spots open that you can check out the details down below. The link that talks about coaching. Read the details on the page. If it makes sense to book a call, book a call. And then if you have a team, you run a podcast, host an event, have a group that needs to hear a message like this, well, let's bring it to your community in a real and practical way. That link is down below as well. If you have not already, and if this video landed, please leave a comment. I love to know it hits home so I can reply to you. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe, tap that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on the other details that we release all week long. And remember this, your low motivation is not a sign that you're broken or undisciplined. It's a sign that your emotional tank just needs some refilling. It's not weakness, it's wisdom that you can use to really give yourself fuel to move forward. And so I'll just say thanks for hanging out with me today. I cannot wait to see what you can create when you stop fighting your emotions and start moving forward with them as your guide. And so I will catch you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day.